Hello and welcome to our session Mastering AWS Cost Optimization. We want to give you some real-world technical examples of cost savings, how they work for customers. I'm Joachim Aumann, Senior Technical Account Manager, and I work for AWS since 3 years. And since these 3 years, I work together with a customer from Berlin. And this customer reached out to me and said he want to save significant amount of money. Then we looked into their spend on AWS and could achieve a 44% of savings on their SAP landscape. And I want to show you today how he did it and what you can learn from this. As I said, the customer has his SAP workload running completely in the AWS cloud using EC2 instances. He has many different environments like a production environment, a staging, a testing environment where he develops and tests new features. But this SAP landscape is very important for them. It runs their complete warehouse software, it runs their fulfillment process. So this is really mission critical, and the customer wanted to save on the costs he has with this landscape. And what we did together with the customer is we looked into their workloads and analyzed it. The first thing we did is we checked all EC2 instances they use and see where the best opportunity was for savings. And here we clearly can see that, for example, the R5 instances or the X1 instances had opportunity for cost savings. The next thing what we did together with the customer was that we categorized their instances. That means that we categorized every instance that they had in their SAP environment to a specific environment and to specific criticality. This means, okay, this is my production environment. This is very critical. This is my development environment. It's also very critical, but only when, for example, the developers work. And these are the test environments that are critical if we do run tests for specific new features, for specific projects we have running. And what he did using text, he was able to create dashboards like we can see here. We have a variety of dashboards, cloud intelligent dashboards you can deploy and have graphs like this. The next thing is what the customer did is he looked into a AWS service called Amazon AWS Compute Optimizer. In this service, the customer could see instances which are over or under provisioned. This means, according to the CPU percentage and memory percentage, how utilized these instances are. And this tool gives then recommendations to upscale or downscale specific instances to save some costs. In this example, we have a C5 large instance, and if we would use another instance type like the R6G medium instance, the customer could save around 70%. So all these three learnings about looking deeper into the instance types, analyzing the environments for production, testing, and development. And third, the information they found in the AWS Compute Optimizer, the customer used to went to the architecture drawing board. And on this board, he then decided the next steps, the architectural changes of their infrastructure. What he has looked into was to match instance types to the right fit. So right sizing them, make them smaller to save some cost because maybe the workload on this instance is not that high enough for this instance type. A very other important thing was he looked into, can I modernize my instances? Can I use new instance types we from AWS provide to save some costs? And the next thing is he looked into which instances I can completely shut down and save costs by not using them. We need to remember that in the cloud, one of the most benefits is that every instance creation or shutting down an instance is an API call away. So with one API call, you can start, stop instances in milliseconds, um, like not seen before if you think about data center times. And looking at all this architectural optimization the customer analyzed and planned, he was able to do some action out of this. And I want to give you now the action the customer did. First of all, he looked into the elasticity of his workload. And what we can see here on the first drop is that he shut down specific instances because they don't need to be run, for example, over the weekend. This is where we see the first significant drop that he said, okay, for example, development and test environments, some of them, maybe all of them, don't need to run on weekends. So we simply shut them down, and on Monday morning, we start them again. And this worked quite well, and after a phase, we saw this works really good. The customer went even few further and shut down instances as well during the week. So he had a very European-centric development team. That means he could shut down instances between 12 and 5 p.m. nighttime in Europe. This meant, again, a big drop of the costs, what we can see here. And this was the first implementation the customer has done, used elasticity of the cloud to shut down complete architecture setups. The next thing is that what the customer did is he used newer instance types. This X1 32X large instance, what we saw at the categorization at the beginning, is the production database of their SAP system. Big machine uses a lot of CPUs and memory. What we have done for AWS, we launched a new instance type called X2IDN, which fulfills the same need for a better price performance price tag. And what we can see here is this new instances has some less CPU, some less memory, but the performance indicator called subs for SAP systems is higher than the old one. This means the customer not only saved 3,000 euro a month and around 35,000 euros a year, he gained as well performance using these newer instance types. And this was proven by speaking to the SAP team, and they said, yes, we could feel a better performance of the system after upgrading to this new instance type. And the third thing the customer did is he right-sized specific instances. So he had before some R5X large instances, which could be downsized to an R5 instance. So he used the recommendation done in the AWS Compute Optimizer to right size his instances to a level where he could save, here for example, up to 50%. And all this effort resulted in a 44% cost savings of the cost of the customer. The key things he used was shutting down instances when he don't need them, which is as well a benefit for costs and for the environment if we think about sustainability. And the next thing is what he did, he resized and modernized specific EC2 instances. Looking at these examples, I want to explain as well a more strategic, more strategic pattern you could use in any kind of cost saving. And what we from AWS see, what worked for a lot of customers, are these three things. You need to establish a cost optimization function. A modern buzzword for this is a FinOps team, for example. But what we have seen is you need a dedicated function looking behind costs. And maybe the only thing what this function drives is cost-aware culture. We need to make sure that in the mind of a solution architect, of a developer, of a director, of an engineering team, are costs. This means that not only scalability, reliability, which are all very important if you design a workload, costs is as well something the team is thinking about. And because a culture is important as well as a function, the most important thing what you need to have is a process which you can rely on and continuously operate in monthly, weekly, quarterly cadence to check where I can improve. And this process can look like this one. So you measure your costs, you make your costs transparent to the teams, to you and your FinOps organization, but more important as well to the technical teams. Then you use this information to re-architect and redo your architecture as seen as the example before. And the third thing is then you operate your workload with the benefits the cloud has, with elasticity, with, for example, auto scaling in the cloud. And of course, customer behaviors change. So you need to measure again. You need to re-architect and you need to operate. This process is a cycle you need to perform on sprint level, weekly or monthly basis. I have shown you now only one example about how you can optimize your costs. In this case, it was EC2, and you can do the same for sure as well for RDS instances. Right sizing them, modernize these instances, and use the elasticity of the cloud. But there are many more possibilities to do cost optimization. If you look at storage, completely re-architecting your architecture in the favor of serverless, and many more things. So this was an example, but there are many things you can explore for cost savings in the cloud. And to help you on this journey, we have two things for you. We have the well-architected framework, which you can access in the AWS console, where you can look and have a questionnaire, do them with your team and see, okay, what cost saving strategies we already have, which are there, which we don't do at the moment and we can do. And we really recommend that you look into this well-architected framework. And we as well have a cost optimization white paper. We published this 2018 and continuously update and enrich this white paper as time goes on. So please have a look at this white paper. Please have a look at the well-architected framework. There are many other pillars as well, but cost saving is one of them. So please start your cost saving journey today. And I want to thank you for the time watching this video and see you soon.